Hey, so today I wanted to talk about the new Duke. So this is the Duke 550 OS Pro Series. It's the new trap from Duke, and it is virtually identical to a trap that most of you are probably already familiar with, the MB 550. So this is a 550. And this is the new Duke. You can see that they are virtually identical in every way. The main differences in the two traps are you can see these oval shaped offsets. That's a little bit different from the casting on the jaws of the MB550. This pan is square, as you can see, rather than the round. It is the same design, dog and trigger though. It's the same design. It's just basically a different shape. Everything else is basically the same. So the first thing I'm going to do real quick is test the pan tension on both of them. So this is not a brand new MB550. This is one that has been in the ground over the last 2 seasons, I think. So it's not brand new, but it's been, cleaned and prepped, and it's basically ready to put back in the ground. The springs seem as strong as they ever were on it to me. Actually, the springs on this trap and the springs on the new Duke feel very similar to me as far as strength. So, I think this is a pretty fair comparison, but that being said, this is not a brand new one, and that Duke is brand new. So let's see what the pan tension is on the MB550. So 1, 2, 3. Oop, I'm going to say about 3.5. About 3.5 pounds pan tension on the MB550. Let's go to the Duke. One, two, three. Oop. About 3.25. So very similar in pan tension as well. The swivels are not the same. They're similar, but they're not the same. And the first thing I noticed in looking at the chain and the J-hooks is the J-hooks look pretty thin. They're substantially thinner than an MB Crunch Proof J-hook. So I don't know if you can see that well enough to see the difference, but there's a pretty big difference in the diameter of the J-hook itself. So J-hooks are smaller. The thickness of the metal on the swivels is not as thick on the Duke. So this is hard to get lined up here, but I don't know if you can see that very well or not, but the swivels are definitely not as heavy duty as they are on the MB. The nut and bolt system is the same. It's 3 nuts and 3 bolts that are holding them together. The frame is gusseted in the same way as an MB550. The jaws look like they came off an MB550. They're tipped so that they can't be worked out. You have to actually take the 2 pieces of the frame apart in order to get the jaws out. The dog is, identical as far as I can tell. The dog is identical. So round dog, same sloped face, and that same night latch feature. The pan, basically from here back is identical to the 550. From here forward, obviously, again, it's square rather than round. The spring pin looks very similar. The D-ring looks very similar, and the springs look very similar. So, the chain looks like good quality chain too. It doesn't look too bad. This one is stamped "Made in China." You can see it right there on the bottom of the frame. So I bought this one in order to take a look at it. That's why I bought it. I don't intend to buy any more of these really. They are, from what I gather, about $30 cheaper per dozen than the 550s. The 550s are about 205, 212, something like that. Let's say 200 bucks. So these are around 170 is my guess, and that's just what I've heard. I bought this one by itself, just on its own. So there's a lot of controversy around this trap, and I totally understand why. I'm not picking teams. I'm not taking sides. I don't know enough about it to really, say too much about it. Other than, this is obviously a copy of this trap. There's no way around it. There's no disputing it. Anybody who doesn't think that, this trap is a copy of this trap is just kidding themselves, or they don't have eyes that work. So it's most definitely a copy, and it is almost a one-for-one copy. To my knowledge, nothing about this trap is patented, but so I guess it's not illegal to copy it. But I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not you think what Duke has done here is the right thing to do. So again, I don't really plan on buying any more of these. I'll run this one. I expect it to work, as similar as it is to the MB550. I can't imagine that it won't work, nearly as well, if not as well. Again, the only thing that I would do is I would replace the swivels with MB Crunch Proof swivels. Especially to get these J hooks up in size and diameter and strength. And the swivels, they're fairly thick. They may be okay, but I would just replace them anyway. I just put Crunch Proofs on them. So that's it. The Duke 550 OS Pro Series. I know that the trapping world is kind of, split on this one. Personally, this one's made in Minnesota. I like MB. I use their baits. I buy a lot of stuff from them. I've used these traps for several seasons now. They've worked really, really well. I really can't complain about the 550s. I'm using more of Kendall Overmeyer's No BS K9 Extreme Junior traps now. And if I buy new traps, those are the traps I'm going to buy because they work really, really well and the coating is fantastic. So, I don't see myself buying any more of either of these traps, to be honest with you. But I really like the 550. I'll run this one this season to see how it works. Again, I can't imagine it won't work. But you do have to kind of take into account, and I know that in the trapping world there's a ton of, especially with dog proofs, for example, this guy copied that, and whose idea was it, and there's just a lot of that goes around in this community. So you just kind of have to figure out what you think, how you feel about it, who you think is ripping who off, if anybody, and and spend your money to help those that you think are in the right on certain situations. So that's it. That's the review. Like I said, I'll run this one this year and post pictures and video of catches made in it. I guess just to prove it'll catch stuff, if nothing else. But that's it. Thanks.